Design students. Hopefully you got a good overview of Google Draw in the last Google Drawings in the last video. But let's take a look here. We're starting in your email or your CPS mail. And remember, we open Google Drawings through Drive. So we're going to go to Drive. And then we're going to create a new document. So just like we would create a Google Doc, we're going to create a Google Drawing. So I'm going to say New, over here, this button here. And then here's our normal Google Docs, and now we're going to hit More. And we're going to choose Google Drawings. Okay, great. So now I'm going to, the first thing I want to do, remember now I've got that checkered pattern, which means transparent. That's a good sign. That's what we want. When you're importing things, it's easier to work with things that have that checkered transparent background. One of the first things I'm going to do, I'm going to give my document a title. I'm just going to use my last name. I'm going to say it's Drawing Practice 2. And the next thing I want to do is I want to do my page setup. I always want to do these two things first. The page setup, your teacher will talk to you about specifically what to put for your logo, but I'm going to put 8.5 by 11 because I want to make a poster to hang in my room for my example. And I want it to fit an exact, this is a standard size piece of paper in the United States, is 8.5 inches by 11 inches. So I'm going to say okay. You always want to do that setup first because if you do that page setup later, it'll try and fit everything that you've done to the page, and it can distort a lot of your images. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a picture in here. So I'm going to say, okay, insert, image, and since I'm going to make something for my class at Senn, I'm going to look for Senn High School Chicago. And there I go. And here's a nice picture of Senn, the first one, right from the front, which is very impressive. So hopefully that's inserting. And there it is. Okay, so what I want to do here is just show you, when I move this around. So I have like a highlight when I hit the right border, if I'm interested in hitting the edge of the right paper. Highlight when I hit the edge of the left. But then really important is this line down the middle, which shows me that I've got this thing exactly centered. And if I drag this down, and this is a super cool feature, when I drag this down, you sort of see here, I drag it down right here in the middle, I have both of these lit. That means it's centered vertically and horizontally. It's centered this way on the page and this way. So this is the exact center. So if you ever want to find the exact center of your page or your logo, that's a great way to do it. I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to make sure I showed you that. I'm going to put this up here. Okay, so the next thing, just another way to insert a picture and a good practice is, so I'm going to say insert. I'm going to have a little Senn logo that I'm going to insert into here. I'm going to use something that's already made. So I'm going to say image. And I'm going to try by URL this time. So I'm going to try my search from outside the program. So I'm going to go out here and I'm going to just do a Google search. So I'm going to say Senn High School logo PNG. Now PNG is transparent. This is like a type of file. So I say go. And that has that checked background that I want. Then I'm going to click images. And I'm not saying that you have to choose PNGs, but it's easier if there is one out there for you. And here is one. So I'm going to go view image. And then from there, I've got this isolated like this. And I'm going to do my right click. And I'm going to go my copy image address. So that's important. If I try some of these other options, they don't often work as well. So copy image address. Okay. So then I'm going to go back to Google Drawing. I'm going to go back to Google Drawing and I'm going to insert, again, image, and I'm going to say by URL. I'm going to say Control V, so this is my image address, and there it is, it pulled it up. I'm going to say select, and here it is. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up at the top. Okay, so let me also insert some word art. Now, you can just insert a text box if you'd like and type in that. Or if you do word art, it looks a little bit more fancy. So that's what I'm going to do. You can experiment with which you want. So here's sensational. And here, I'm going to put this down here. And again, I know I have it centered because I have that red line lighting up. So that's super helpful. Okay, great. If I want to fill that, I can use, so this tool will fill like the border of my letters, right? And then if I want to fill the letters themselves, I can use the fill tool, and then it'll fill in the rest of the letters. I'm going to make it pretty dark because I'm going to put a background in there. Okay, good. All right. Now let's say I want to put like a pattern behind this logo up here. So let's say I want like a bunch of like white circles. Now you might hate that, but that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna make these white. So I'm gonna make my fill color over here white. Now a good trick also is if you say Alt and drag, or you can cut and paste. But if you Alt and drag, that's a nice trick. So if I hold this down and just drag with the Alt button, it'll just start duplicating these. Pretty awesome trick. And here I am. And you might be saying, well, gosh, you're putting those right on top of the logo. But what we're going to do is we're going to group all these circles together. And then we're going to move them behind that logo that we pulled in. So that's a very handy feature. And you may want to use grouping when you're doing your own logo. Okay, awesome, good. I think to give a little more contrast here, I'm gonna set a background too. So I'm gonna right click to do that. And I say background, and I'm gonna choose a gradient, which is gonna give me, it's gonna kind of change the shading from one side to the other. I'm gonna make it pretty here, I think, and we can change that later if we want. Okay, now back up to my group. So a great trick to get all these circles together is to hold down Shift. So here I am, I'm holding down Shift, and notice how it's hooking all these guys together in one big group. Awesome. Okay, and then now to arrange, what I can do is arrange and send them to the back. Well, first I'm going to group them. Then I'm going to send to back. I don't really see anything. Let's try that one more time. Oh, yeah, I did. Okay. So now they're behind the logo, right? So the logo is in front of them, and the white dots are behind. And you can use that layering feature. So again, how did I do that? I used Shift and click to select them. I grouped them, and then I sent them to back with the order. Okay, finally, let's add one more design. This looks a little empty down here. I'm going to go out to Shapes. I'm going to get a circle again. If I want to keep the proportion of my shape, so in other words, if I really want it to be a circle and not an ellipse or an oval, I'm going to hold Shift down. And that's a great trick that I use a lot in Google Drawings to keep my shapes proportional. Oh, that still looks ovally, but still remember that trick. Okay, so I'm going to drag it over. And now it shows me this is center because I've got the red line. I'm holding Shift. I'm still dragging a little bit. And then I'm going to make it recenter. Okay, awesome. All right, I think I'm going to put kind of a bullseye thing in there. So I'm going to go for this donut thing. And I'm going to put that in here. And again, it won't probably look the way I want it to look at first, but I can center here in a minute. Let me do it again. This is a donut shape. Okay, so here I am. It shows me where it's centered in this circle. And then I'm going to use, I think I'm going to pull this out. I want it to be more like a border. Let me see here. And again, I'm holding down Shift. You'll have to experiment with if you like the effect that has or not. But if you don't hold Shift, sometimes, say with lettering, you can end up distorting it. So Shift can help you keep it proportional. And now this little guy, I think, makes this, oh, whoops. Okay, I can use this to make this skinnier. Okay, so if I fill that with a very dark green, okay, that's cool. It's a little bullseye looking. And then I'm going to go out to my bigger circle, and I'm going to change the border so I can do that here. I'm going to make that a very dark green, and I'm going to make it a lot thicker so I can really see my border. Okay, cool. So I got like a kind of little bullseye type thing. And now I'm going to put a star in there. Now, I could put a bulldog in there if I wanted and put the image in, but right now I'm going to go with a star. It's under callouts, and here's my star. And so I got my star here. I'm not quite sure how big, but I'm just experimenting. I'm holding down Shift, and I put it in there. I'm like, let's see. So there it is, perfectly centered, and now I'm going to just, again, holding down Shift, and I'm going to resize it a little bit. See if I can get it to fit in there. Okay, so alright, I don't like it because these little points are here. Let's see how that looks. Okay, not too bad. I might want to fool with it a little more to get these touching. Okay, all right, not bad, I don't think. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill that. I might use a gradient, so there's a little bit of a fancier pattern there. All right, cool. All right, so I think that looks pretty good for my poster. Sensational, and I have the star. Hopefully that went over some key features, how to center things, using our red lines, how to do grouping. So grouping, I can do a lot of objects and then shift click and it'll group them all together. I can then select them as a group, order, send them to the back. And I think that that's looks pretty good. So good luck on your logo. It's going to be awesome.